Hello, and welcome to this special edition of SOMC podcast. I'm Sanika, your host for today. Today, we'll be talking about our amazing experience visiting the famous R.K. Laxman Museum. This visit was divided into 4 days for different batches from the 16th to the 19th of January. The museum is located at Balewadi in Pune and houses about 35,000 cartoons and sketches of R.K. Laxman. Rasipuram Krishnaswamy Laxman, or R.K. Laxman, as he was warmly known as, was the man behind the common man, the voice strengthening the countless voices of India, the satirist who brought humor to politics, and who was one of us. Born in a well-to-do family, Mr. Laxman was the youngest of 7 siblings, and he was ushered in the field of drawing early on. He was drawn towards different styles and methods of painting and drawing. His school teacher, praising his drawing of a people leaf, pronounced his journey as an artist. Since then, he never looked back. While pursuing his graduation at the Maharaja College in Mysore, he used to assist Mr. R.K. Narayan, his older brother, by illustrating his articles in the Hindu. Subsequently, he started working for the Free Press Journal, where he was working alongside Mr. Bayasaheb Thackeray. Eventually, his caricatures took up a deserving and prominent position in the front page of the Times of India. You Said It was a comic strip developed by Mr. Laxman which portrayed the daily lives of the citizens of the country. This gave birth to the infamous common man, an old man with a large nose, dhoti, and his infamous spectacles. This common man was just like a fly on the wall. Mr. Laxman, with his witty, sarcastic, but never too venomous. Common man brought crucial topics to the table and made them visible. This went on for a long period of 60 years. Every day, the common man of this country waited for this common man to show up in the newspaper and make life humorous. His presence is now preserved in a museum at Pune, and this initiative was taken by his daughter-in-law, Mrs. Usha Laxman. We had the privilege of having a telephonic conversation with her and got her insights on the unseen side of Mr. R.K. Laxman.
So, what was your motive behind taking this legacy ahead? So the thing is, I felt my dream came in front of me because even when Dad was alive, I wanted to do something. I wanted to take his work forward because we as family have not just seen his work, but we have also seen the kind of effort he has put behind.
Right.
The time management he had and the commitment he had towards his work, which is not just to do with because he was an employee of Times of India, but other commitments as well. So the way he committed himself towards his work and the focus that he had and, the drive within him, all of that all the while I used to think this shouldn't be just lying, in the newsprint or just in your cupboards. It has to be taken forward. The younger generation needs to know about this gentleman who has contributed so much towards for the nation and for the common man. And then this is not a serious thing. This is more with a lot of wit and humor in it, which is very light-hearted. So and humor is something liked by one and all, and which shouldn't be just lying inside the house. It should be taken forward, and that's been my drive. And I felt when Dad passed away, and when this was a vision of our honorable Prime Minister that museum has to be there in the name of Lakshman. And I really felt that, my dream has, surfaced and it has just come. And then after that, we read about this in the newspaper. We knew this was happening and we knew that Pune Municipal Corporation had started work on that. And right from the moment they located the land, the plot,
Right.
every time I had an extra energy to go all the way to Pune, although we have a house there, but my primary, drive was to go there and see what's happening, even at the basic stage of when the plot was allocated and when they started the foundation work. And we as family were nowhere near being part of this museum. Okay. But for me, it was just an excitement. Oh, this is happening. And at every stage, every time I would go to Pune, I would make an extra effort to see that I went to Pune at least once in 2 weeks, just to see what's the progress happening.
And ma'am, the last question, the whole of the School of Media and Communication visited the museum And unfortunately, you were not there to speak with us face to face. But
Yeah.
all of them will be listening to this podcast. So, is there a message that you want to give to all the students, like from MIT and everyone else who listen to this podcast? So, is there a message you want to give to them?
Yeah, sure, definitely. And my message would be the reason for making this museum is purely for the current generation, and for the current generation to see that there has been a man who is, an artist with a background as an artist, but not just a mere artist, but he is there to convey a message. His work is there to convey a message, to convey values, to convey. His artwork is more as a creative, and it's creative expression, right? And
Right.
and also critical expression. So you need to
Yes.
look at things. If you look at things creatively, then you also look at it critically. And why do you look at it critically? Because you want to be the person to make changes, okay,
Yes.
for your own society, for your own self. And I
Right.
think these are the little elements that you can see and read between lines in his artwork, and also for how they could carry this forward to the society. And if you see, Lakshman was the pioneer in the social media as a social media commentator in his own medium that he looked at,
Right.
which was
Right.
the newspaper, right?
Yes.
But now
Yes.
you guys have a medium which moves instantly. I want everyone to go and visit the museum and take the positive vibes from there, and see how you could showcase this and how you could take this forward. This would be my message, and our intention of having this museum and putting all his cartoons, right from the day one that he has sketched till the last common man that you saw, is purely for spreading good values and positive vibes.
Getting back to our guests, Nikita, can you tell me what exactly did you do there?
So we started from a bus trip, which turned out to be very amazing as we had refreshments in between, played songs, and danced a lot. When we were in between our visit, we had amazing food packages from Kaka Halwai, and Srinivas Lakshman's son of R.K. Lakshman sir was briefing us about museum, who was very friendly and sweet.
The museum itself holds an amazing energy. How was your overall experience at the museum, and what is one thing you'll take away from this visit?
Talking about the museum overall, it was a knowledgeable visit. We got to know many new things about R.K. Lakshman sir, who was a common man. We also watched two shows. One of them was regarding Malgudi Days, which was explained very beautifully in the voice of Baman Irani sir. And the other was Light and Sound Show, which was very fascinating, through which we got to know many facts about R.K. Lakshman. There were many caricatures which carried very deep meaning, which made them very unique. The one thing I would like to take was when we visited museum and when Srinivas sir was telling about how museum is situated at Baliwadi, he told us about his father's death, and I would not like to gain sympathy from you. He said that while narrating the story, he didn't get emotional because he said, as a journalist, when we read about ethics, it is said that we should not be emotional while narrating or reporting any incident, which is the basic rule of the journalism.
That was aptly put forth, Nikita. Now, coming to the caricatures displayed in the museum, there were a lot of interesting ones. Some of them were controversial to say the least, but never offensive. Isha, can you describe one that made you crack up or that was your favorite?
There is no doubt that R.K. Lakshman's caricatures were extremely on point. It has been decades since he came up with these caricatures, but they still are winning hearts of people. His work regaled the people with wit and yet left them with something to introspect. Many of the cartoons made by him long back still hold true and tell us that he was indeed a visionary to foresee today's India. There was this one caricature that caught my eye. So basically, it was a tiger which depicted black money, and the politicians put a tiny cage to capture it. The wit behind it was so apt and is still relevant in today's time. This is what R.K. Lakshman thought of currency demonetization decades ago. It is valid even today. How much more of the tiger is now in the cage? That's a question that helped us think thoroughly about how much demonetization actually achieved its aim. But the best part of his work was that he was extremely diverse, and that was noticed by me at the museum. He had a wall dedicated to caricatures of important personalities from various fields. A wall covered with different Lord Ganpati caricatures, which was definitely soothing to the eye. But one could never miss the room filled with political caricatures and was extremely hilarious. A few of them which made me crack up was the emergency one, titled as the ugly emergency monster. Basically, overall, it was an amazing experience. R.K. Lakshman is definitely a legend who gave birth to the common man. This museum is definitely keeping alive the legend's amazing work.
I think a lot of us will agree with you, Isha. Some of us had the privilege of meeting his son, Srinivas Lakshman. He was one of the most humble and fun people to be around. I'm also super grateful that I got to share a conversation with him, and I'd like to mention some of the interesting things he shed light on. The first question that I would like to ask you, sir, what is one of your favorite caricatures of Mr. R.K. Lakshman?
There are two, if I can say. One, Yuri Gagarin over there, the first man in space, because I'm a space geek and I've been in touch with space and all. Secondly,
Okay.
the one he did of my daughter, down.
Okay. So Mr. Lakshman was known for his art about the common man. How would you describe the common man? What is your definition of it?
Common man, any person like myself, a man of the street, a man of the street. In Bombay, for instance, we move around and I always take the bus. Train is a bit difficult. Ruchira doesn't allow me to go by train at all. But I used to do that. But I knew as far as possible, I don't take the uncommon way of taking the car. Any part of Mumbai, Fountain Church, which I have to do every day. Common man means everything that is pretty identifiable with the ground realities of earth and trying to lead that life. That's what I feel. The first time I've asked that question, but I'll apply myself more since you have raised this point. I never thought of it. Okay.
And what do you think about the way that Mr. R.K. Lakshman has portrayed
The common man.
Yeah.
I think it's pretty good. That's what I have to say. He did it and it became a legend. As I said, it was born in Mumbai. And but probably now a lot of statues are coming up in Mumbai celebrating the common man. And I'm glad, the recognition of his birthplace is coming up.
R.K. Lakshman was famous for his talent of not showing bias and having the most journalistic view about politics, which is hard to have these days. What do you think is the key to not having a biased approach while writing news, Janvi?
So R.K. Lakshman used the third person point of view. All the cartoons were from the perspective of a common man looking at the issue or the event. He was like a fly on the wall. For example, the iconic R.K. Lakshman cartoon when the media called during emergency when asked to bend. We need to be specific about writing about one person. For particular example, Gandhi, who is one of the iconic cartoons of him. He was most popular from the Congress point of view. His journey was a long way, and the ideals of Mahatma Gandhi was very well portrayed. Lakshman had the common touch which appealed to the common man, and not surprisingly, he created his own common man.
That was rightly put, Janvi. The common man is said to be the one everyone relates to. Aryan, how do you relate to the common man? What are your opinions about him?
So there are many things that everyone loves about the common man. For me, there are majorly three things. Firstly is the appropriate representation of public grievances and the problems. The way R.K. Lakshman sir has depicted them in the most relatable and humorous manner as possible. Secondly, the way he's drawn and the way he's seen in the newspaper, it genuinely feels like he's a common man, like a person that can actually be seen on the streets. And just the vibe he gives, he's like any cute grandpa who lives in your society. It is really very homely. And the third and the most important thing is, if you look at the pattern of the drawings of the common man, it's like there's a conversation between two delegates or two politicians, and the common man is overlooking and overhearing them. And the way he's always curious about the conversations he's seeing, and the way he's always listening to the conversations, yet not having any biased opinion, not creating any conflicts or unnecessary debates. These are the things that I really like about the common man.
Those are some really nice observations, Aryan. Krutat, if you were to bring back the common man today, what would you stress on? I mean, what is an issue which is so close to your heart that you will reinstate common man talking about that issue?
There are way too many issues that I would personally want to highlight if I were to bring back the common man. But there are many, like inflation, which actually affects the common man, unemployment, and the economy. But one issue which is like really close to my heart would be the way media is working around politics. Nowadays, you see, media, I don't think they have a backbone anymore, right? They're just leaning towards one side, or working on trolling one side, bashing them up. One thing which I learned after this visit to the RK Laxman Museum was journalism and media should actually be about questioning people in power. It should actually be about questioning everyone and everything that is out there in an appropriate way. And I guess that is what the common man did when Sir R.K. Lakshman introduced him. And yeah, I believe that is what is needed right now. So if I were to bring him back, yeah, this is what I would focus on.
That's a wonderful insight, Kritat. Thank you, everyone. R.K. Lakshman brought in a new wave of humor in politics which was hardly ever seen before. He shaped the way in which people look at politics. He made people look at politics in a different and interesting manner. Leaving all of this behind, it is important to understand that he himself was a common man who did uncommon things. He made every single common man feel heard, validated, and recognized and empowered. We will forever be grateful for his contribution in the field and for giving us a voice, making the common man immortal. Thank you.